Nihad?
Yes.
Yes, so please, the floor is for you.
Thank you, Hala. Thank you, Hala and Saba and Jamawi for arranging this webinar and for hosting it today. I would like to welcome everybody in the session. And I'm very happy to be here with you and to share my journey and the Aramex experience in building a coaching culture and creating leaders who speak and manage by using a coaching approach. The whole idea for leaders usually is to be able to, since they are key in our organization, it was important for us in Aramex to start with the key people who are the leaders and to start top down, as the behaviors of the leaders is what is extremely important, since their members and their teams usually copy their behavior. This is very common usually. So the more we are able to work on changing the behavior of the leaders, the more the impact will be bigger, because it will exceed the level of the manager to cover his team as well. I think Hala or Saba will help me now to just start the presentation, going to the slide. Number 3. What we're gonna cover today, I think the slide is stuck so far. If Saba or Hala can just change the slide so I can start.
I changed the slide, Nihad. I don't know.
Still show my
okay.
I could still see. I can't see the screen. Anyways, okay. I'm not seeing it from my side for some reason.
Okay.
It was paused for some. I'm not sure. Anyways, no worry. I'll just start it from my side so we can continue with the session. Sorry, just give me 1 minute to open it from my side. I think we are having a technical problem since I can't see the slide. I can only hear the conversation, hear everybody. Okay, the first slide where what we're gonna cover today in this session, it's gonna be okay. So the whole idea is to engage leaders, and without engaging the leaders, it becomes very hard to create this coaching culture. And moving from this slide that talks about the leadership impact on culture, as I was just saying at the beginning, change has to start within the management and leadership team before it can be impactful towards the teams and the people who work within their teams. And because change is a core for any coaching culture or for any coaching relationship, so we need to make sure that the leaders are open for change. They have the open mind, the open heart to change their behaviors and be getting their buy-in to help us basically spread the coaching culture within the organization. The more they get the feel of it, the more they can be advocates for the coaching culture. So what we're going to cover today, why managers need to coach, how can organizations benefit from coaching, and our journey in specific. I'm going to share with you some of the best practices that we have tried. Like any other organization, we try something, we keep looking at it and fixing and reshaping things to achieve the results that we are looking for. The main issue, which is on the managers as a coach, managers don't coach or because they don't know how to most of the times. They don't know the benefits of it. A lot of organizations don't spend enough time to run formal coaching sessions where we can explain thoroughly and have role plays for managers and leaders, basically to understand the coaching language, what's the importance of powerful questions. And it's very important as well, as I said earlier, for managers and coaches to be coaches and to be engaged, because they help increase the motivation and the engagement. So if we engage the management top down, we are able to cascade the whole process towards not only individuals and managers, but also towards managing and increasing engagement on the team level and doing coaching for the teams as well. And all organizations want to improve their performance, and people are the ones who drive performance in the organization. So the more we are able to impact the biggest players who are managers in any organization and able to increase their own effectiveness, their own efficiency through coaching and the ability to manage their teams, then we are able to increase the efficiency and the efficacy basically of the team and of the organization, and eventually, of course, that will reflect positively on the performance at all levels. It empowers people because always managers, and this is a common trend, their leadership skills on how to manage the talents within their team, how to manage average people or people whom they think are good to stay, but they cannot drive change within their teams. So coaching can enable the managers basically to use that as a way to manage those with high potential, those who are the stars within their team, empowering them more. In terms of delegation, we always say coaching is excellent to help in terms of how to delegate. So using coaching to delegate as a manager will help you unlock talents, will help you empower your stars and enable them to reach the maximum and maximize basically on that talent and capability. Now, the core thing for coaching culture to work, again, when we start by training the managers who do not know what is coaching, who might resist the concept of why should I coach, what is the difference between coaching and mentoring, or I don't have the time to coach. So it's extremely important that we will work with the managers on creating the time, on showing them how coaching can save them time, can help them manage their time and other people's time. And a common thing also to make a KPI or an objective within the KPIs for the managers of developing their people and coaching their people. That will create more accountability basically on how they are planning to take the learning from the coaching training into the ground and into applying it with their teams and with their people. So it's very important to show them the benefit, to share role plays with them, to share with them case studies of other organizations, big names, how they experimented with coaching and how they created within the organization. Basically, with Aramex, we have an internal program, a 1 full day training for managers and leaders, which incorporates practical examples for them. It's not only theory as much as applying on the spot how to coach and what is considered coaching and what's telling, what's not coaching. As coaches, we always say it's all about asking and not telling, and that's what we try to hardwire through coaching within the managers who are supposed to coach their teams. How can organizations benefit from coaching? Now, the benefits are massive. It really covers almost everything within the people aspect within any organization. Onboarding, a lot of organizations don't even think of onboarding. We only think of the existing managers, the existing teams. A lot of times people, seniors who are joining any organization, having a coaching to help in the onboarding would help them understand the internal culture faster and be able to be fitting within that environment and be productive as well faster. So it kind of escalates their ability to fit within the organization. For offboarding as well, it's used when there is exits, there is employees or managers where you need to downsize the organization. It's very important also to coach those levers to help them, could be work on their resume, looking at what opportunities they have in the market, just to help them find their way the minute they leave your organization. Like any other organization, all organizations care about their reputation, not only for the existing staff, but also for those who have to leave for any reasons. Promotions, lots of times managers are promoted, however, they get overwhelmed with the job. So having a coach as their sounding board, working together with them would help them be able to be productive and increase their efficiency from day one when they get the promotion. It really prepares them for that. Retention for your talents, for your high performers and high flyers within the organization. Lots of times training is not the solution. It could be one of the solutions to develop people. So if it's used as a mean to engage and to retain the high flyers, that would also help a lot in keeping these staff, especially that if they are a high potential that they don't want to lose from the organization. Definitely for performance, it's used for conversations between the manager and the leader during performance reviews. How to give feedback in a way, and how to use that approach to engage the employee to find their own solutions if their performance is not up to the standards. So instead of telling them how their performance should look like, it's more about asking them and engaging them to find their own solutions. And shifting the focus in the performance conversation from focusing on the lack of performance to the solutions and how we can move forward, looking at the future and the potential rather than what did not work or did not help. In career growth, for sure, escalated leadership development programs, very commonly used, coaching. In meetings, a lot of people think in lots of meetings within the teams or within groups, or if there's groups working on projects, sometimes projects get stuck because of how the team is communicating or because of how the team is allocating or assigning roles. How they are managing the meeting. So a coach can be a great helper to observe these meetings and stimulate the thinking, to engage the team, to find how the meeting can be more effective, or how the teams can be more effective in how they interact. Sometimes teams might have issues in the trust, in the collaboration, or in how they work on projects, how they plan for their projects. So if you see here, the list is big for where we can use coaching within any organization. If anybody has any questions, please feel free, as Hala mentioned at the beginning, to stop me at any time. I'm going to talk now directly towards the Aramex culture. We started coaching within the sales because lots of companies, if you are in the service industry, they want to increase their sales, they increase their targets, improve their financials. So we found it a quick win and a good win for us to start introducing coaching through the sales. So we built basically a program internal for the leaders and managers who are in sales to help us in terms of coaching to increase their productivity. And that was a good way because it helps measure in terms of numbers within the organization for whoever before sales coaching happened and after. We set the standards and the processes, which we continuously until today, after all these years, every year we stop, we pause, we look back at our process, at our standards, and we see what needs to be fixed, where we need to tweak and add to it, and we keep updating it as and when needed. And to be honest, being part of the PRISM Award helped us a lot. Every year we apply for the PRISM Award. The feedback we get from ICF gives us lots of insights of where we are doing well and where we need to focus to improve our strategy altogether. We do training in-house. We do webinars for 1 hour. 1 hour. We do. We cater. We are ready to customize based on the managers. If they are too busy to have the one full day, we do the 1 hour, or we do it in terms of modules over a month or even 2 months, depending on the need. We do lots of virtual training because we are global and we have offices in over 60 countries. So we do lots of virtual training within the coaching. And we have practice, what we call it, which is a team of coaches who are certified. We meet once every month or two, and we share experiences and to help each other upgrade our skills. As mentioned earlier, we applied 3 times, 2 times on the global level, and the second time we applied, we were 11 out of 38 globally. And that allowed us to have a detailed debrief with one of the global directors in ICF on an actual Skype meeting, which was great because it also helped us understand the details. We have internal coaches. We deal with external coaches as well. And we keep creating more internal coaches every single year. We create continuous learning for our internal coaches as well. We do individual coaching, and we also provide team coaching. Our obstacles, I would say, or the key learning point, because an obstacle is not an obstacle, it just highlights areas where you can be even better. Obviously, change is painful. People may resist change, especially when you are introducing a totally new concept for managers who used to be directive in their leadership style. So we are totally shifting their mindset from telling and directing to engaging and to coaching. It was very important to keep engaging the top management in that. And it was a challenge to decide who gets coaching. At the beginning, we just wanted to create more clients for us to practice. Gradually, we became, I would say, famous, and people started coming back to us, asking us for coaching. So that increased the number of coaches or clients we have internally. And now we are increasing number of coaches to cater to the need. We always look at how can we measure the impact, and we try to create some indicators for us to help us measure every step of the way. Number of coaches, 2 PCC and 5 ACC. We had more ACC, but they left the company. They got better offers after becoming certified, and they moved out. That's why the current ones are 5 ACC and 2 PCC. And we have mentorship program. And basically, as Hala was introducing, I'm a mentor coach certified. So I do mentorship for the internal coaches by asking them to submit recordings for sessions. And I listen to the sessions and have debrief with them over these sessions. Our future vision, the way for the future is basically to increase number of coaches, internal and external. And for external coaches, we always do a trial session. So any manager, executive manager mainly, who needs a coach, we get only PCC or master coaches or MCC coaches for our executive managers. And we allow the manager to have 2 trial sessions with 2 different coaches, because that will allow them to have the choice to decide which coach works better for them, and accordingly we start the relationship. We're trying to have coaching accessible to all employees by promoting that on the Aramex at Work, which is a site we have internal. We put live podcasts. We try to publish continuously small tips about coaching to create that awareness. We're trying next year, that's something also on our agenda, to have a platform, more of moving towards the digital system that allows to capture the goals and to keep the relationship and the progress tracked between the coach and the coachee if they would like to use it. I want to make sure we stick to the time frame for the webinar. Coaching works because organizations and teams are all moving towards having agility, having flexible growth mindsets. So managers with growth mindsets will be very open for coaching, as opposed to managers who are not flexible, rigid, who are very conventional in their approach. And that helps the organization basically know who are the force who will drive the change in the organization. And practice is extremely important at all levels to make things perfect. We ask managers and sales coaches to invite us as coaches to observe their sessions through the recording and give them also feedback on their sessions. Questions about coach is always an issue. Choosing the right coach in any organization, it's extremely important to choose people who are credible, who are trusted, who are highly regarded by the employees within the organization, and that would increase the impact when you are offering that coach as somebody to work with anybody within the organization. So it's the credibility of that coach and him building his or her reputation within the organization as a positive advocate and champion for change is extremely important when you choose who can become a coach. And a coach with high emotional intelligence, I would say somebody who genuinely cares about helping others be successful and are committed for the process. And something we also do when we build internal coaches, if we feel somebody is not committed to do the sessions, to show up on time, we make sure we clarify to both the coach and the coachee to inform the coaching program manager, who will if the issue is with our coach, we handle that differently, and we kind of drop them from our pool of coaches for the further development if we feel the commitment level is not very high. It's not easy to get managers to shift from their agenda to the team, to the group, to the especially if he is coaching his members or within the team. So it's the mind shift is not easy, focusing on others versus focusing on his own personal interest. Asking and not judging what the person, it's more about seeking to understand as a coach, manager, rather than the manager who is judging and condemning people based on what they say and what they don't say. We don't use the word weakness. We make sure we clarify as a manager, you only use positive phrases, positive language at all times. And finishing within the time allocated, I'm ready for if anybody has any questions.
Hi Nihad, this is Sabab. So just a few questions that have come in from Anika Sharma. So one of the questions that she has is that how do you measure the return of investment from coaching in Aramex?
Yes. Very good question, an extremely important question, because even in the Prism Award, they always ask you as an organization, how are you measuring the impact? A different method we use. If it's for sales coaching, we have a documented form that documents the targets and the numbers and the performance of the person in terms of percentages and numbers. And we measure in 6 months from coaching, especially for sales. You can't measure in 3 months. We measure in 6 months, and it shows the increase in the targets for that person if it's sales coaching. If it's a behavioral leadership coaching, we run 360 tools. Actually, the start of any coaching relationship is assessments, personality profiling, emotional intelligence assessments, and 360 tools. And that's how we define coaching goals. And once the coaching is completed, there is another 360 to see how the stakeholders perceive that person after the coaching has been completed. We do something called stakeholder-centered coaching. So midway through the coaching, after session 5 or 6, the one who are managing the program, basically, we go back to the stakeholders with 2 questions only on email, confirming confidentiality and asking them to share with us what behaviors they have seen changed for their manager and what feed forward they have additional areas where that manager needs to work on. That also helps us measure. We measure the performance of the coach through the coachees. So we do an interview with them, and we send them also, we do a survey to collect the satisfaction. We collect also testimonials that we post on our Aramex at Work. All of these tools just to help us measure the impact. We are not running surveys yet that can measure satisfaction in percentages year to year, because we are relatively new in that in measuring it, especially in terms of behavioral. But that's also on our agenda, hopefully soon.
All right, great. Thank you, Nihad. Another question that we have is that how do you decide when to use an external versus an internal coach?
We use external coaches mainly for executive level, for the sensitivity of the roles, and there might be conflict if somebody from within the organization work with them. So mainly executive level, and as I said, we look for minimum of PCC or MCC level for our executive managers.
Okay, great. Another question from Agnes is that how long has the Aramex coaching program been running? What are the main challenges you faced over the years?
I would say from almost 2008 when it was first introduced. Introduced on a small pieces, I would say. I'm a believer when I introduced in Aramex to make it small pieces, create small wins. When people start talking about these success stories, the word would spread out faster than when you try to push it yourself. And the main challenges was, as always, you need the top management to be engaged. One thing we started, we had one of the country managers, basically a general manager, having an executive coach, an external. And when he got the feel of it, he started becoming part of our internal advocates and champions. And still, with the massive number of the organization, the number of coaches, internal and external, that we currently have is too limited to cater to the need. So that's one of our current challenges, I would say.
All right, great. Any other questions anyone has? I think we're good, Nihad.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think we're done. If there's anybody has any questions, we started a bit late, but we finished also very early. I was thinking I'm running out of time.
Okay. No, actually, Nihad, we still have time
Yes.
for this one. I would like to ask you a question, please. Any recommendations that you would like to share on how to support organizations to start coaching culture?
Yes, actually, the start point should be to have somebody certified, first of all, from within the organization. Somebody who went through the journey of becoming an ACC first, and then a PCC. Once you get through the journey yourself as somebody leading the coaching culture within the organization, it can help you start. So that's the first point I would say, to be certified yourself. And to be part of the community of coaching within global and within locally within the UAE. Being a member and renewing your membership constantly allows you to know what's happening globally. It gives you access to lots of tools, lots of webinars, by the way, as well, that are free and that would be usually done in different countries, different time zones, that allows anybody who wants to attend. So being exposed to learning from global and from connecting with the community within the UAE. Number 3, I would say engaging your management, explaining to them what is coaching, how it works, putting standards from the beginning, and choosing your champions, your advocates, who will be supporting the coaching, not only from a top management, but also from different managers who have credibility, who are already having good relationships with the other staff within the organization. These can help you spread the word faster. And being part of the PRISM Award will teach you a lot, will give you so much insights that alone you will never know about it. It can highlight for you, for example, for your strategy, how your strategy looks like. And when they ask you about your strategy, it would enable you to think, what is my vision for coaching for the organization? How fast I want to get there? To get there, what resources I have? Budgets are extremely important when coaching starts having a specific budget that allows the company to be able to have better resources. Also looking at the sustainability. So when you create coaching, and as I mentioned, even today, I had 10 coaches, I had 2 leaving after getting the certification. So how would you sustain the culture if you have turnover even within your internal coaches? So what we always say is to make sure you have a bigger team, and it's a continuous process every single year to create more coaches so you are able to sustain what you create and maintain it.
Yeah. I would say also patience to overcome the obstacles and not to give up, because as you mentioned that it's hard for people to change and to accept new things. So also you need to be patient and persistent with what you are doing until change really happens and takes place.
Yes, absolutely. It's your persistence now. The traits of you as a leader of coaching within the organization, you need to be very resilient. As Harry, you were saying, persistence definitely, and keep learning. Never stop learning as a coach internally, because that's the only way you can bring a new learning for the internal coaches, and you can increase the impact, because you can start small. But to be able to compete and get this Prism Award and be stronger, you need to keep increasing the scope of who gets coaching within the organization. And if you have limited number of coaches, limited budget, you cannot increase the scope the way you want to. Being able to always make sure when you introduce training for coaching, you only deal with ICF certified organizations, as that will make the process of certification much easier for you and for the internal coaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. We have another question here. Is that how has coaching impacted the performance of the Aramex business?
In terms of the sales, we've noticed a real change in the targets and the numbers, as I said. And as well as in the performance, we could feel the managers in terms of the retention. It would be a sign the more people leave from his team, the more he has issues. Retention percentages decreased. As I said earlier, we are trying to measure always with percentages year to year. So doing a survey for satisfaction, for how it impacted increasing engagement, is something also on our agenda.
All right, great, thank you.
It's a non-stop journey. Once you start as an organization, it does not end. You're going to have to stop every single year and keep adding and keep improving. It's definitely a lovely journey because there's learning all the way, but it has to continue.
All right, another question that has come up from Agnes is that how do you ensure the internal coaching you offer benefits both the organization and the coachees? Like you mentioned that you started with the sales department to boost sales. What was in it for the coachees other than the career progression performance?
Like any other coaching is not about the what we say. It's about the who you are as a person. So rarely you find someone when you start working on coaching them that the main issue of the lack of performance is the knowing the what. It goes deeper towards their own behaviors, on old habits that is not helping them get what they want or get where they want in terms of their career and performance. So it definitely impacts the behavior, though at the beginning of the coaching goals, these might not be stated clearly. But however, once the relationship starts, a lot of coaches find it that we are ending up diving deeper into the behavior and the values that is within the person. That is kind of an obstacle that prevents them from achieving their maximum talent. And being aware is great of where they need to do, or what they need to do, but how to do it and how to do the change from within is where coaching is really impactful in terms of the managers.
All right, thank you so much, Nihad.
Okay. No more questions above?
I have nothing on my side. I'm clear.
Okay. Please, anyone, if you still have question before we conclude the session for today. Okay. Well, Nihad, it looks like we have covered everything. Is there anything else you would like to add before we wrap up?
Yes, actually, one tip for the whoever is interested to start a coaching culture, when you deal with external coaches, make sure you create a network of coaches, because there are lots in Dubai, and create a network of preferred coaches that can be easier for you to tap into when you need them, and you trust the quality of what they do. Because out of experience, when we started coaching, we dealt with a coach, though that coach was certified, but he did not do well, so that manager was not very happy with the relationship. So it wasn't a success story for us to start coaching. So once you start, especially dealing with externals, make sure you get coaches who are highly reputable, very strong, and try their sessions before you open the door for them in. So every interaction they have within your organization is very impactful and create, like I say always, the wow effect. So the manager would come and say, you know, it did make a difference for me, not only in my work, but also in my life as a person. And thank you.
Well, thank you, Nihad. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, Nihad, Sabab here. So we have one final question that came in right now, is that if you could go back, what would you do differently?
Very good point. and a very interesting question. To be honest, if I go back, I would only maybe be more cautious about the training organizations and coaches I deal with, because like everything else, we try, we learn from our mistakes, and we move on. One of my learning points was to be careful about the organizations you bring in to train your internal coaches, especially because if they are not as strong as they should be, they totally give the wrong message and the wrong learning. So as a mentor coach, you end up working on removing the wrong information that gets into their mind, into the internal coaches' minds, and which confuses them in their journey, rather than enable them to do a better job. And I'd like actually to share a funny story with a consultant, with a training company I dealt with. I'm not mentioning names, but however, that company, they gave training for the internal coaches, and they kept telling them from day one to ask about the feelings. So keep asking your client how you feel and how you feel. So a lot of these coaches came back to me saying, you know, I can't keep asking my client every single minute how he feels. And sometimes it's too sensitive to touch on these points. So as a coach, being present and mindful enables you to know what to ask and when. So if the learning tells you just focus on this, it just disturbs your mind. So what I was telling them to correct this wrong information, saying, no, coaching is not about feelings. Coaching is about understanding the behavior of the person, and feelings or their thoughts might drive that behavior, which they might not be happy about. So be careful about which company you deal with. Now, out of my learning, I do trial sessions with them myself as a training organization, especially if they are providing virtual learning. I would go to their own actual session, attend a full session more than once, until I am sure that that's the good quality that I want to bring into the organization.
Great, thank you again, Nihad. Sorry to disturb.
No worry, we still have time, no issues.
Okay, Sabab, I think there is anything else? Nothing?
No, we're clear.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Nihad. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. Thank you for your time. And on behalf of my co-leader, thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here with us today. Please stay tuned to our next community practice in October. We would love to have you again. At the end of our webinar, all participants will receive a link to complete a survey. So we would highly appreciate, please, your participation to complete it, as your input will actually will contribute to our future community practice subtopics development. And we would love to hear from you. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.